We are starting with the Final Fantasy XIV tiered list of every single patch from 2.0 all to 6.5. There's gonna be some definite like bad patches here, okay? Y'all know how I feel about some of the Endwalker patches. Some of the Heavensward ones, not gonna be great, okay? I'm expecting Pagos to have some issues in there, you know, for Stormblood. So to give some context out of how we're gonna go about it, it is not gonna be just about the raid tier. It is not just gonna be about the story. It's about the whole encompassing thing of what was delivered. I'm probably gonna deviate a bit away from the story, and it's more probably gonna be about content because that's usually what I care the most about. But if I feel like one of them was extremely strong in the story, I might consider it. But if one was extremely bad in the story, I'll probably consider that too. It's probably going to be based upon how much fun I had in said patch and what I remember about said patch too. But because there's a lot fucking here, man. There's a lot fucking here. I'm going to do my best to say or like go over everything that was there though. So it's there's quite a bit here. This one is probably going to be pretty damn biased. And I think people might think this is higher than it should be. For A Realm Reborn, I'm not putting 1.0. 1.0 is not going on here. For A Realm Reborn, which is 2.0, I'm actually going to give it an A. I think some people would give this a C. I would almost even verge it an S. And hear me out. Just hear me out. I know that sounds crazy to people that probably have had issues with A Realm Reborn. I feel like this was the most content delivered on one single patch ever, because obviously it was re-releasing the whole entire game, but it had a wealth of things to keep you busy for a very, very long time. I felt like the only issue that reason I'm bringing it down from S is actually because of Twin Tanya. I had an insane amount of fun in this patch when it came out, and obviously it is coming from like a golden era, but I feel like this was the start to like everything, and I felt like they did a pretty damn good job delivering on having said recreating an MMO in basically like 2 years. I felt like the whole entire like build up to like after you get done with the MSQ to get to Coil, meaning you have to go through each of like the primals and then you immediately could go into Coil. I felt like that was like an insane experience at the time. I don't think that you can deliver that anymore, and I don't think it'd be healthy to deliver that, because basically people spammed leveling or getting through the MSQ as much quick as possible to get to Coil and everything right off the bat, to try and like world first obviously the whole entire raid tier, right? And I guess that was when I was doing that, or started doing that kind of stuff, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I remember we were pretty early on getting to Twin Tanya, and then you hit the fucking wall that is Twisters. That's why I like, this is from a personal thing. I felt like Twin Tanya was the thing that brings it down. I even in like the relic patch steps, for example, like this was, in my opinion, one of the best relics that were ever released and it came right at the start. It was literally right at the start of ARR, and I felt like each of the steps like felt good to do, because you were building from scratch the relic. You go and find all the parts and do things, and you have like dedicated content, meaning like Hydra and Chimera, that were at the time, well, I wouldn't say they're hard, they still required a bit more effort than I feel like anything else, and they were more unique, and it wasn't like grindy. It felt like it was good to do. Like I guess for me, like that whole relic stuff just felt good for a 2.0. And the other issues that 2.0 did have was server congestion time. I don't really want to count that against any of the expansion releases. Maybe it should be, but for me, the actual content that was there, I felt like it kept people quite busy and very active that were there, and I had probably one of the best experiences on an expansion launch when it comes to like having fun. even though like ARR, like I said, as far as MSQ goes, wasn't that great to me. It was completely on the content itself. Those relics are not from 2.0. Yes, they are, because they redesigned the steps. I had a bunch of relics from 1.0, and they completely redesigned the steps. That is not true. It is not completely the same. They redid them, and they made it better than it was. Well, I wouldn't say better than it was. I would say it was formatted for the game in 2.0. In the 1.0 relic steps, I thought it was really cool that you had Ifrit Extreme at the very end, which was unique content only for the relic. But I absolutely detest the step of getting Hamlet defense. Even though Hamlet defense was fun to do, I just hated having to like deal with like the point system in Hamlet defense related to getting like the items to do the relics and stuff. There's the relic, A Realm Reborn relic was, like I said, not the same thing as the 2.01, or sorry, the 1.01. For clarity, is this a list of Kai and chat's list? It is Kai's. It is Kai's. If you want to defend against me and tell me why I'm wrong, you are free to say so, though, Varsity. You are absolutely free to say so. I have no problem. Yeah, the first relic made you earn it. I wouldn't say it made you earn it in the grind. I felt like it felt like more of like a journey of crafting a weapon rather than, oh, go grind X piece of content. And I felt like that's what made it good. 2.0 was good, just a lot of bugs. Yeah. And that's why I say part of me doesn't want to fault them because how much they rushed it, but I felt like it was complete as far as like fun and keeping people busy. Okay. 2.1. One big thing about this patch, and I always want to reference this is what patch they fixed Warrior and made Warrior what Warrior is. So to me, this is a pretty big deal patch-wise. This is when they almost like completely redid Warrior from like the 2.0 version, because I remember trying to have our group, or I didn't have our group, our tanks were like trying to do this. They were trying to run Warrior at the time for coils, and it was miserable. It wasn't great, but they end up redoing Warrior in 2.1. And I thought it was a pretty damn good fix. I mean, it is kind of like what it is now today, or like built into what it is now today. But the other thing we got was that was our first 24-man. In 2.1, they also released the first 24-man for Labyrinth of the Ancients. And I feel like, man, this is tough because like I'm so mixed on it. It was like I feel like it was nostalgic to do at the time, but like anytime I've had to go back and do that raid, I felt like it was annoying. It was so interesting to do initially because people actually struggled on the 24-man, and I think in a way that made it interesting, but it also like, if in today's perspective, people would be like, nah, man, fuck this. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, that's why. That's why. I'm a bit mixed on where to put this one. Like, I feel like there's good stuff here and there's bad stuff here in this one. They also added Ultima Weapon. I think it was hard mode. And I thought Ultima Weapon was actually pretty damn fun. Oh, wait, no, this added the extreme modes. I forgot all about that. Then the other thing they also did, so in 2.0, the refresh rate on like the server had like issues. So people would get ticked way too easily from like particular like telegraphs because I think it was like refreshing at like, it was like half a second, or it was like 0.05 seconds. Like I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something that was like really absurdly long, and it was causing people to like get ticked from like super far away on like on landslides, even though you're like way fucking out of it. And then they updated like the refresh rate on the server, and it made in 2.1 like the game just feel like dramatically better. So that was kind of like a bug fix, but the extremes are like man, I felt like the 3 extremes when they added Ifrit, Garuda, and like Titan extreme mode, that was a pretty big deal for like my group, because we had a ton of like fun doing that. I felt like all the extremes were pretty well made at the time. I'm a bit mixed on Crystal Tower though. I'm a bit mixed on Labyrinth of Agents, so I don't know where to put that. I felt like the extremes kept me busy and I had fun with that, but I almost want to put this at like, it's not as good as 2.0 was. And then, man, did we get the relic step at this point? I don't remember if there was 2.2 or 2.1 that we got the next relic step. Oh, I'm trying to think. Where's the relic step here? I want to say it came in 2.2. When was Atma added? When was the Atma step added? Damn. Yeah, I don't remember when that was at, if that was in 2.1. I want to say that was in 2.2. Either way, I think even considering that, I would still put this probably at a B, because I feel like the extremes really like carried this to a B. Versus like Crystal Tower would have probably made this be in a C. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember that. I don't remember that part. Okay, so the next one was Through the Maelstrom, which had second Coil in it. I liked second Coil more than first Coil quite a bit. I feel like Nail was pretty like a massive and really fun fight to do. I did not like Musaline or what, the T7. T7's the one that I'm not a fan of. I hated the Renaud like kiting. Leviathan was fun. I think that was it. I think that, wait, no. Was this when they added Glamour? Like, hold on, let me check this. I think they added Glamour in this patch too. Yeah, it was this patch. So this was the patch they added Glamour. Ooh. They also added Duty Roulette here for the Expert Roulette. Holy shit. There's a lot here that's like essential to like how the game functions now. Man, okay. I think the most of the tier, I would say Rafflesia, Avatar, and Nail were really good. I did not like Musaline, Melusine, or whatever it is, for T7. Leviathan was good as far as like an extreme goes. Glamour's a pretty fucking big deal. I almost want to say this is an A rank as well. The thing is that this has Glamour. Oh, dude, that's a big deal to me. It's crazy because at the time, I didn't care about Glamour that much. And I didn't use Glamour prisons. I thought it was stupid. And the reason is because I was like, why wouldn't I just wear my high Allegan gear? That was my logic. At the time, I was like, just wear my high Allegan gear. I want to see what it looks like. Does the strength of the MSQ factor in rankings? Only if it stands out dramatically. And I don't feel like, I'll be honest, I felt like ARR MSQ didn't really like stand out dramatically to me. I want to put this in high A. I feel like this is like almost S rank because of most of second Coil and Leviathan. I just don't know. And there's Glamour. I don't think it's perfect. That's the problem. I can't give it an S unless it feels like almost perfect. I think it's better than 2.0's patch though. Patch 2.3. So this is the one that had a Ramu in it. And people could tank Ramu at the time. People could tank Ramu at the time with Titan A. It was so fucking funny. Titan egging the Chad. The other interesting part about this, they added second Coil Savage. I would probably at the time put that on the level. I don't know if I'd put it on the level of Ultimates, but that's like a comparison. If you give it perspective to like, I don't know if I want to give that perspective. It's because they're quite a bit different. Because I felt like they tuned regular coils at the time to what almost like a Savage tier is nowadays, or like what we expect that to be. Though I imagine if someone went back that has the skill that exists now in a player and did did regular coils, they'd probably shit on them. Just like from a basic like mechanic standpoint, like they're not like complex mechanics. I'm like trying to think about that though, because like it's been so long and I'm like trying to remember all the mechanics. I feel like Savage, now thinking about it and like remembering it, I think the biggest part with like second Coil Savage was things just hit fucking hard if you were using the like high Allegan gear. And that's what made it difficult, was like how it was like tuned from like a damage perspective. I only cleared Nail though, I think during this time. Or did we clear Rafflesia too? I can't remember actually. I want to say we did Nail and Rafflesia during this time. We didn't end up doing Avatar because I remember Avatar being like stupidly hard for a DPS check, even if you're like really performing well. But I might be remembering that wrong. And then healers with T7S, it was wild. T7S people like I remember really struggling with because of how you had to deal with like double I think it was like there was the double like AoE damage coming out from like the dot that gets put on people and you have to like cleanse it. Yeah, there was no incentive. Yeah, if you guys wanted to farm Savage at all at the time, you would lose the lockout of your normal, and if you cleared normal, you would not be able to do Savage either. And so progging Savage like made it annoying to like get your regular clears. What else did they add in this? Okay, so there was Ramuh Extreme. Psyker's Tower came out. Psyker's Tower is dramatically better than Labyrinth of the Ancients. I still think Psyker's Tower is like one of the better like raids that they put out for a while, and that might be from like an aesthetic and like fun standpoint and like how smooth it goes. I really like the second, like I don't remember his name is, they changed his name a few times. The second boss in Psyker's Tower, they like, I know everyone like zergs that guy down, right? He absolutely like zergs that guy down, or we just zerg him down now, but he used to have a mechanic, or he does have a mechanic if you take long enough, where you would have to go around to like all these platforms and like kill shit on them while like stuff is happening in the middle. So there's a lot more like mechanically going on. Yeah, I just remember having a lot of fun with that one for a 24 man. The Guardian guy, yeah, that guy. I think they continued obviously the Zodiac weapons. I don't remember what step this was. What step was this? It was the map. Soul Glazed Relics. You must seal Aether Tight your weapon, attune soul energy through dungeons, fates, treasure. Oh, this is a light step. Okay, so Relic, I would say, is very no. Second Coil, very mixed, but at least they're adding harder content, maybe. I don't know. That mixed on that. They did add Borderless Ruins for the first time for like PvP Frontlines. That was I think this is the first time they added Frontlines. And then they added Psyker's Tower. It's either lower B or C. I feel like 2.1 was better. I'm gonna put in C. And I have to, I do want to preface this like how I'm like thinking of this. This is their first expansion and their first attempt at doing stuff. So I give them a little bit more leniency. If you gave me 2.3 in 2024, I would feel a lot worse about it than now. Next one was 2.4, which had Final Coil in it. I think Final Coil is them getting close to modern savage in some ways. And I feel like it was executed pretty well to me. I had a lot of fun with it. I remember, I think the first fight I was mixed on, Kalia, Phoenix, and Bahamut, though. I felt like I always had fun doing those. It felt like more close, like I said, closer to modern in that direction of like what eventually Savage would become. I don't know if I'd say it's better than second Coil, but I still feel like I enjoyed it about the same as second Coil. I think Shiva wasn't bad. I don't think it was as good as Leviathan as far as an extreme mode goes. It was better than Ramu. Oh shit, they added Ninja in this patch. I completely forgot they added Ninja in this patch. I feel like that bonuses the patch quite a bit compared to like other patches, because we've never had another patch that's like delivered a job besides like an expansion patch. So it's a toss up. They're probably like right next to each other, 2.2 and 2.4. I feel like they were pretty good. I just don't want to give them like perfect remarks because it's still not like outstanding. But I would say for like the context of the time, 2.2 and 2.4 are very like close to each other as far as like these were the most entertaining patches and kept like people busy and like enjoying the game. All right, for 2.5. So 2.5 had World of Darkness. I liked it more than Labyrinth of the Ancients, but I'm trying to think if it was better than Sycharis. I kind of want to lean towards it was, because I felt like it was more like cool from like a visual thematic standpoint. But I didn't like the first boss, and I'm very mixed on the second boss. But I really liked Cerberus when it comes to like the whole entire mechanic for like the Devourer, and like how you had to go and like inside Cerberus and like fight like separately than your party. I thought that was cool at the time, and I don't feel like they've done a lot of that. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of like the direction they went with like A4S's manipulator when it like pulls you away. I don't think a manipulator's pull away was that fun because it like basically makes you do nothing for a bit. But I feel like in the sense of like a alliance raid, I think it's like okay, and it's a better thing, and it's not that big of a deal. I think Cloud of Darkness was fun to do itself too, as far as like a 24-man. What else was there? Steps of Faith, dude. Steps of Faith came with this. People like lost their fucking shit over Steps of Faith because they were like crying it was hard. I liked it on the first iteration. I didn't like it after they changed it. Is that the big dragon? Yeah. I felt like it was way better in the original iteration, but just like too many people complained about it. And I think that's why it ended up getting changed. And it kind of got worse and worse and worse and easier and easier and easier. There was also Odin. Odin was... See, like, the shitty part about Odin is so useless. I feel like they didn't add, like, great trials at this part because there wasn't an extreme trial in this. The other thing they added in 2.5, what was it? The Hildebrand stuff, but I'm like, I don't really care about that. They had a ton of trials in 2.5. But most of them were kind of like throwaway. When did Gold Saucer get added? This is when the Gold Saucer got added. I was honestly going to put this at the lowest out of any of the patches. Out of all of these, almost like down to D. I think because of Gold Saucer, I'm a little biased to put it up to high C. I think Gold Saucer is the only reason I'm raising this up. But as far as like the actual like other content, I feel like it was much weaker in 2.5. So Heavensward, as far as like the initial start with the MSQ, there was no like issues I feel like on launch. I don't remember there ever being any like congestion issues for Heavensward. I thought the MSQ was pretty damn good for it. So this one stands out a little bit more in the MSQ compared to like any of the 2.0 series. This is when, in my mind, the MSQ started getting good. So I'm going to say, in this one, I do factor MSQ higher. The biggest shit part in my mind is, even though I loved Living Liquid, I hated the rest of the raid tier. And I think it ruined so much of the game at the time for statics and stuff. I think it was completely toxic to the game. Gordius almost killed the raid scene. Like, the fact that manipulators, like, go-to strat for, like, most people was to do the sack strat, I think that's a clear indication, on top of, like, the amount, it basically killing the raid scene. It was too much and way too far, and it was garbage. Like I said, I have really fond memories of Living Liquid because it was like an achievement to like overcome it. At the time, I want to say, I can't remember. I think it was like end of week 3, beginning of week 4 that we killed it. But then we got to Manipulator and it just like absolutely killed our morale. Passing Nissi before like the Nissi strat like came into a thing, that like absolutely just destroyed our morale. And we still got through it eventually, but I remember us just being like, what the fuck, after going through Living Liquid. Ravana as an Ravana's extreme was really good though. Bismarck is trash. I feel like there's so much bad here. The only like shining thing in it is MSQ and Ravana, and I can't rate this that highly. I'm either thinking D or very low C. Addition of flying. Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point. Maybe this is like a... Some people wouldn't factor this in, but the conflict of Dark Knight being able to deal with magic damage attacks and Paladin basically being able to do fucking nothing against magic and making Paladin useless, I felt that brought down Paladin so much. I think that was bad, really bad design. And Paladin was pretty much in the shithole all of... the other thing is I really liked Dragoon's job design. That was one of my like most enjoyable times playing Dragoon that I can remember. I don't know if it was healthy because I felt like Monk completely got shafted because the meta was like so beneficial to use Dragoon and Ninja together, because you had Goad, you had Smokescreen, you had Trick Attack on Ninja, and then you had Battle Litany on Dragoon, and you had the piercing like from Disembowel. Like, the melee balance wasn't great between like Ninja and Dragoon in my mind. It's in a lot of ways like it. There was always like one reject, I'm like thinking now, out of like each of the roles. Bard and Machinist flip-flopped, but I think primarily most people ran Summoner because Black Mage didn't have a raise, and Black Mage didn't, if I remember correctly, it didn't do that much more damage than Summoner. And I think there was even times where Black Mage did worse damage. But it's so hard because I didn't really run with a Black Mage outside of initially Gordius. Yeah, you didn't need Dragon Kick anymore because of Dark Knight. Yeah, that's like put even higher like emphasis on Dark Knight. And then Warrior getting Fell Cleave like was massive. On the healer end, I think the initial like Astrologian like implementation. Oh man, I'm trying to remember back, like, because there was multiple iterations in Astro. I want to say Astro was pretty damn weak when it came to healing, and people struggled using it initially compared to White Mage, where you needed to heal, or you has some like more healing utility to deal with Gordius. There was also the factor of, I think, if I remember correctly, people recovering MP because of Gordius's design when it came to Manipulator specifically, that aided White Mage and Scholar more. because Scholar like basically had a huge MP battery with between astral not astral flow, aether flow, and then you had energy drains, and then there's like things about like the jobs that were really cool from like I think they modified them in a way that was like fun for jobs that excelled between ARR to 3.0, but there were jobs that just became rejects. So I feel like this is a very, very divisive job balance, at least in 3.0's initial start. I don't know. I gotta put it. I've gotta put it at low C. I think there's too many like negatives that brought it down. Okay, 3.1. Okay. I'm gonna tell you right now, I fucking hate. I absolutely hate Void Ark. It is my least favorite raid that has ever been made. I hated it. I hated the aesthetic. I did not like the bosses. I didn't like a lot of like the trash packs. It wasn't fun. There was like various times where like you had to like stop doing DPS and various things. Like it didn't feel good. It felt very the aesthetic was, while it was kind of creepy, I don't know. I didn't like it. I think Void Ark was trash. They added the first version of Diadem. It was pretty bad. You had to have an airship and a free company to do the actual good version of Diadem. And Diadem was just... no. The other thing that was in 3.1 was Lords of Verminion. With the gold saucer. Guys, do you like Minion esports? Do you guys like Minion esports? Hey, Sarah. And this also was the first time they added the Atmo weapon. Yeah. I'm just gonna say this is a disaster of a patch. I don't think this is good. I think this is one of the worst patches. I'm gonna put it in E. I think this was... oh, wait. There was one shining light. There's one shining light. Hold up. There's one shining light. Thornton Extreme. Thornton Extreme is one of the best extremes they've ever made. Does that make it go up to a D though? It is one of the best extremes. I'm gonna move it up to a D. I'm not gonna give it any more than that, but Thornton is the shining light in all of the darkness of this patch and how bad it was, but Thornton was fun. I loved day oneing Thornton. It was ridiculously fun. That was probably one of my like most favorite like extremes that I remember doing. 3.2. Oh boy, let's talk about Midas. So I know a lot of people like Brute Justice from like a aesthetic, the trumpets and thematics, and I actually think it's really cool like when I did the fight, but there's things that are still hanging from manipulator and other stuff that are wrong with that fight, because people did a sack strat where basically if you got a certain mechanic that you needed to cleanse with fire, you would go sack yourself instead to get rid of it. There was also a problem with A6S where there was a bug that made people explode randomly to a debuff due to it was just a bug, and it caused a lot of people's progression just get fucked. It fucked with my progression when I did it. This is also somewhat also getting to more modern era in 3.2. Midas has still bugs. There's also another part of 3.2 that is, I would argue, bringing stuff to modern, how things are done, is crafting gear became a thing on raid patch here. I don't feel like crafting gear was like as emphasized more than any other raid patch than this one, that was like the item level actually was better than the was it better? It was either better or was like equivalent. You could pentameld stuff and everyone could do it. It was a lot easier to, I guess, obtain, if I remember correctly, like how you get the gear, because you would spend tomestones to basically get the items, like how we do nowadays, to like make crafted gear. That was more, I think, where it's like more getting towards like the modern. So like I would argue that was a good thing, since it's like it's still standard today. I think Sephiroth Extreme is one of the better extremes of Heavensward. It's not as good as Ravana and Thornton, but I would probably put it at third place. I think I'd definitely put Sephiroth at third place out of all of Heavensward. Much higher than Sophia and Zervan. And definitely higher than Bismarck. Feast was added in 3.21. Okay, so Feast came with this. I really liked Feast initially. This was one of the only seasons that I actually went really fucking hard. The thing is that there were issues with it from like probably a balance standpoint, because it used basically in Feast's initial implementation, you basically had your full entire PvE kit on top of like the PvP specific abilities. It was their first attempt at like arena. Well, no, it was their second attempt at arena combat. The first one was, God, what was that? I don't even remember it anymore. It was like the thing where like people got labeled as like meat. Oh my God. Wolves Den. Yeah. I completely, yeah. People were labeled as fresh meat. Like instead of their name, it said fresh meat. The win trading. Yeah, that did happen. I'd say Feast is a mixed bag, but this is still a better step in the right direction for Savage, I would say, outside of the bugs, than Gordius was. I struggle with this because I liked Brute Justice, but I do remember all the bugs and issues with like the stacking. Even with the bugs, I feel like it's probably a B. I feel like the bugs are what drags it down when it comes to Midas for me, when it came to A6 specifically. And like I said, Feast is a mixed bag. Even though this was probably the one I played the most and had the most fun with, I'd still say it's a mixed bag because there was just so much rampant like issues with it at the time. Like there was like issues with it when it came to like win trading. There was issues with it when it came to bots being like all over the place. I mean, we saw videos early on in Endwalker with Crystalline Conflict even, but like this was like, there was like white mage bots and shit like this where like people would like really literally just have a character walk out to the center to like win trade for them. They'd have running at the time, or at least that's what it looked like, because the character would run out in the middle, just start like spamming stone and never healing, and it'd absolutely like fuck up the whole match. Okay, next one. 3.3. Was this the one where they did the second iteration of Diadem? I think it was. Because there was like 3 versions of Diadem in Heavensward. No, wait, whoa. Wasn't Palace of the Dead added here? I think this added Palace of the Dead. And I think Palace of the Dead was a massive W. Because I loved Palace of the Dead at the time. I think that was a huge, like, good thing that was out of the game. People still do it to this day. I think that's, like, a good enough inclination. Like, I feel like Palace of the Dead is pretty damn good. And then since this is, like, 3.3, I think this is when Nidhogg came out. So, Nidhogg Extreme. I think Nidhogg Extreme was fun. I remember having a lot of fun doing this. I don't remember having any issues with it either. It was always, like, really fun to do Nidhogg Extreme. And I felt like it was very cinematic too at the same time. Like, especially because the fact that it like has the Nidstinian phase, and then it has Nidhogg transform into its like various different phases. Yeah, I'd say the extreme was like really high, like good. And I remember having fun with the mechanics. The only one I didn't like was the one where you had to like get the tether and like run away from like the exploding ball, or like the balls at the same time, and you had to run a specific pathway. And there was like hot wing and hot tail. Or is that, wait, am I getting that confused with Midgar Stormer in Omega? Because I remember Midgar Stormer had like similar mechanics to some of Nidhogg's mechanics. I don't remember, but I remember having fun with Nidhogg. Mach was also continued. They did like the Weeping City of Mach. Was it Weeping City or is it Sunken City of Mach? One of the two. So I think Weeping City was the better of the three because it had Ozma, and I really liked the spider boss. And the reason I like the spider boss is because like the height dynamics where you'd like do mechanics on the ground, and then you would go up into like the upper area and do mechanics up top, and then some people would like drop down. I think that's why I liked it, because it felt like it was like different, and it like made the arena more like active. When it came to the other bosses, like the hair boss and like the zombie boss, those are okay. But like I felt like Ozma and the first boss were really cool. This added, I think, Fields of Glory, which is the one where you attack the ice, right? So that's the first front. That's that front line. Okay, so Palace of the Dead, Shatter, or Fields of Glory, whatever you want to call it. Nidhogg Extreme, Weeping City, and Mach. Oh yeah, it's Sophia, right? Wait, no. Sophia would come in the next patch. Never mind. Because they skipped over it because of Sophia Extreme because of Nidhogg. Man, I would consider, because of Deep Dungeon, a big add to the game. Nidhogg was good. Weeping City was mostly good. I think that's my, like I said, it's my favorite one out of like all the raid or the 24 mans here. And I think Shatter was okay on release. It wasn't like spectacular. So I'd probably put this, I think it was better than 2.1 and probably better than 3.2 because of the bugs in Midas. It's tough because I'd probably like interchange these because they blend together so well at the timing that like maybe I would give that a high B. I think I'm gonna give it the high B. I don't think it deserves to be anywhere else. Yeah, I don't feel like it deserves to be anywhere else. 3.4. 3.4 is massive because of Party Finder for a rating standpoint. And I think Creator is pretty much modern rating, but slightly easier. It was really easy compared to any of the other raid tiers of Heavensward, but PF was massive for the game. I can't emphasize enough how important PF Crossworld was, and I feel like it dramatically changed how just like the game functions. The Sophia Extreme was okay, but like as far as the raid tier goes, I feel like every single fight was fun. Every single fight was the first two fights were like not crazy good, but I think they were way better than anything else we had, like in comparison to like their spots. I think they were more enjoyable to do. But Cruiser Chaser and Alexander, I'd say Cruiser Chaser is, I don't know if I put it on Living Liquid level the way I hold it up to, but it's like very comparable. The only reason I hold Living Liquid so high, even though from a DPS standpoint, it was really insane when it came to Living Liquid. I'm like, no one cleared it week 1. No one cleared Living Liquid week 1. But as far as like Cruiser Chaser went, I just have really fond memories of doing Cruiser Chaser, and it was just extremely fun. Although I will say some people might be like, well, that's the first time Limit Cut came into the game. Fuck that. People might not be happy with Limit Cut. So overall, I felt like 3.4 is an exceptional patch. Does it deserve to be an S? I think the problem is like I really want to put it at S because of Party Finder alone. I think some people don't like Party Finder due to the fact that it broke down the barriers of like server like culture. But I think as the overall health of the game, I think Party Finder is overall better. The only reason I'm putting this at S is because of Party Finder. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think it is such a dramatic like health-y boost to the game and making the game in a better spot that of how important this is. There's also the factor, now looking back on it, this sets up Shadowbringers as far as MSQ goes. At the time, this felt like very mixed like reception for me, like in the moment. But this sets up Shadowbringers because this is the patch where like you fight like the Warriors of Darkness and then you send them back to the first, and like that sets up that whole entire story. PF brought players together. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is like it made it easier to raid, and because you weren't just dealing with your own server community, and it just made the game look healthier and the perception of the game a lot healthier, probably to like your general player base, because it was a lot easier to play with like people in general. I know PF, like I said, is at the time, I know there's like even myself, I was like very like scared of it because it like broke down server culture, but I think overall it is way more healthy for the game that Party Finder exists, and I think it's a massive benefit to the game overall. So that's why I have to put it in an S, because I think it's like one of those defining things for the game that made the difference. I can't imagine the game without PF. To be clear, it was PF cross-world PF. It was cross-world PF because PF used to only be on your server. So 3.5. This is what leads into Stormblood. So Zervan Extreme, I would say, was very mixed because it caused the skip sword like memes. Which one introduced Palace of the Dead? 3.3. So it created the skip sword meme, and really, I mean, at the time I was doing the skip sword meme, I was like demanding skip sword, so I can't say I didn't, but like I think it did create like some toxic PF atmospheres for some people, but it also added like the final like 24 man. I would say Dunskaith was Skothic, and Diablos were interesting. I didn't care for like the first two bosses that much, and then they eventually adjusted Dunskaith to also have Proto Ultima in it, which was like an extra boss onto it. I don't know if I really like that design. I'd say this is like the middle between all of the raids. Like I thought the last two bosses were cool, but the first two are like very meh. And it takes so long to do it just because of like the extra added on like Proto Ultima. When it comes to the story, like I said, it did set up Stormblood, but it set up Stormblood with Lys. I don't know what to say. I don't like I don't like Lys retrospectively. I was actually hype at this point, and I think the reason I was more hype at 3.5 than anything was because of Samurai I knew was coming out at this point. I knew it was coming out at this point, and it was like my one job that I wanted added so badly. And it went, and that's why I was like so hype around then. There was also another iteration on Diadem in 3.5. The third iteration of Diadem, mind you. In this third iteration of Diadem, they added the emergency missions that allowed you to get items that were like super high item level from at complete RNG basis. So these items had one more weapon damage than the raid weapons from Alexander, but they were extremely rare to drop, and they gave really stupid RNG on the stats. So the way all of Diadem's gear worked is it RNG'd the stats with like allocated stats. You could get like tank armor with like spell speed on it, if I remember correctly. Maybe it wasn't spell speed, it was like skill speed and like parry and stuff like that. And then you would have like DPS armor with parry and like other wild shit on it, right? Like it was just randomly giving you stats that didn't make sense. And it would give you allocations of it that were random too. It was like you could have like +5 of a stat. Nari ended up actually getting one of these, and it was the Dragoon Spear. I was so mad because it actually gave her good stats. It actually gave her good stats. And it would be better than the Alexandrian weapon. I was so mad that she got this. I never got one. I still don't have one, but she has that spear. Anyhow. So Diadem once again was a failure. I don't hold this one very high. I would say this one's pretty bad, and it's because of Diadem, and I don't feel like they did much here. I feel like it's pretty weak. It was probably better. It's probably better or worse than 3. It's like probably around here. Maybe here. No, I'll put it below Heavensward. It's Gordius was pretty damn bad, but I felt like there was just not much added in 3.5. And I felt 3.5 like to 4.0 was a massive slog. And while Diadem was like entertaining to some degree, it was bad. It was just bad. I feel it was horribly implemented. We're in Stormblood now, guys. We're in Stormblood now. Okay, so for Stormblood, the very first patch, Samurai gets added. Huge fucking win for me. At the time, I love Samurai. I immediately leveled Samurai. It was my favorite. Well, no, I didn't. I leveled Dragoon through the MSQ, and then I leveled Samurai. Whatever. Either way, it was my second melee I leveled, and then I switched to Samurai instead of Dragoon. And what was it? Deltascape. Deltascape to me, besides O1S being an absolute meme because people cleared it in one pull. I'm not kidding. The world first cleared O1S in one pull. However, everything except for O1S, I felt was pretty decent. O2S was mediocre, but I personally think Helican Arxis was like one of the best tier, like third fights of a tier when it came to at this time. I felt like it was a good check on people from a DPS standpoint and mechanics standpoint. I really liked O3S. And even though O4S introduced White Hole, which I know healers hate, I love the fact that this was the first time we got an actual like second phase transition where it like had like the, you know how like we have like the door boss? This is the first iteration of a door boss. And the transition was so fucking cool at the time into Neo X-Death. It was so damn cool. So like I felt like this is like This was the peak, like, at the time going into raiding in a lot of ways, even though they made raiding easier. Like, this is the first time we, like, week 1 on my group was in this tier. So I have a lot of fond memories because of that kind of stuff. But I think from, like, a raid fight, like, I felt like 04S and 03S were fun to do. Very fun to do. So I kind of give that the pass, even though, like, 01S is the meme. When it came to the extremes, Susanoo was good. Lakshmi was kind of like, eh. I don't like the, like, duty action thing that, like, you basically picked up, like, the Vril or whatever they're called, and then you'd use that to, like, shield yourself. I thought that was meh. The MSQ is disjointed. The only part of it I like was the Asm Step and, like, parts of Doma. I do not like the lease segments. I don't like the anything with Alamingo. I hate Xenos, obviously. I've said that enough. So the MSQ is very mixed. Or, like, not even mixed, it's, like, negative for me. There was also Raubon Savage. Or Raubon Extreme. So do you count that against them? I'm going to say because it's an expansion launch, and I understand that there's going to be a lot of congestion, I still think it should be a negative against them in this case, because I feel like they should be able to not have these bugs on an expansion launch when it comes to Raubon Extreme and even the DDoS stuff. I think they screwed up. At least in, like, the quest design that caused Raubon Extreme to happen. Because there was a second gate, not just Raubon Extreme. There was then Xenos after that would happen when you go to Ralger's Reach. And people got kicked out there. I remember having issues myself, even all the way to Asm Step. I kept getting kicked out of the Asm Step instance for, like, the Nadon or whatever it's called. So the raid tier's a positive. Susanoo's a positive. I felt like Red Mage and Samurai were good, like, implementations. The job changes at this time, I really enjoyed. I liked Dragoon. I liked Samurai, obviously. I don't remember having any issues as far as, like, that much balancing goes here. Maybe someone can point them out, but I felt like Stormblood was, like, a good direction of balance. I know there were, like, some jobs that did get, like, left out in Party Finder because people were being, like, very, like, stickler. But I think overall, I think the game was, like, more balanced than Heavensward, because I don't think there was as many issues with, like, the Paladin versus Dark Knight thing. Although I will say Paladin or Dark Knight and Warrior, I believe, were still superior at this time. I think the healers were better as well as far as, like, their kits when it came to, like, you had more options to DPS. Yeah, I think overall, like, 4.0, it's a big mixed bag. The initial patch, I'm gonna put it at a high, because the MSQ, I'm gonna drag it down. I'm gonna put it right in the middle of B, and the reason is mostly because of MSQ and all the, like, login issues. And then there's, like, the O1S memes. Lakshmi is mixed. I think Deltascape was really good, but when it came to, like, 03S and 04S, but I don't think that's enough to, like, bring it up higher. Okay. 4.1. Oh boy. This was one of the best 24-man starting. Like, this is the best 24-man at this point in time that they had ever made. Rabanastor was so much fucking fun. Like, I love the aesthetic. I love what they did with it. So 24-man wise, insanely good. Okay. Rabanastor was insanely good. Shinryu EX was, in my opinion, at this time, a really damn good, like, extreme mode. I love doing Shinryu EX. I think it was better than Susanoo. So at the time, out of what was released, out of the EXs for Stormblood, it was the best Stormblood EX at this point. Rabanastor is huge though, so that one's big. But there is one thing that was released during 4.1 that would insanely change the game. And that was UCOB. UCOB dramatically changed the game. It made another level of difficulty for raiders, and it gave you the goalie weapons, it gave you the title. It actually had proper motivation for it to do extremely difficult content that people had been asking for. So with the introduction of Rabinaster, Coils, Shinryu EX, and I don't care what was else, the three of those combined, this is an S tier patch. This is the best off patch they had ever made in my mind. This is the best raid, like off tier patch, period, that they had made by this point. I'm not gonna say there's not other better off tier, like off tier like patches, but this one by this point is the best one. And the biggest contributing factor is the introduction to UCOB, and all the other pieces of content were great. Like, I don't think anyone could argue Rabinaster isn't like a great introduction to Ivalice. All right, so 4.2. I'm sorry, guys. Fashion Report gets added in 4.2 instant S. My bias is never higher. My bias is never higher. For real, though. For real, though. For real, though. For real. Okay? For real. Sigmascape, in my opinion, because of God Kefka, is the best Omega tier to me. I think God Kefka is one of the best fights they've ever made. I think Kefka was insanely fun, the first fight, and God Kefka. Now, I know there's train memes, I know there's paint memes, and I know there's copy paste memes, okay? But in my mind, God Kefka is that big of a standout to me that I love doing that. I love Sigmascape. I think Alphascape is really good. I just don't think it's better than Sigma for me because of specifically God Kefka. I love that fight. I thought it was so much fun. It felt complete. The other thing that was added in 4.2 is Eureka. And you guys know how I feel about Eureka. So not only was Fashion Report in this patch, Eureka was in this patch. So Eureka, God Kefka, and Fashion Report. And I guess there was the Four Lords, but I think Byakko was kind of mixed for the first one. But just because of Eureka, even though Animos wasn't the best version of it, I'm very biased about this, and I'm putting 4.2. I'm putting 4.2 at the highest right now. I think this is, in my at this point in time in the game, I felt like this was one of the best patches they ever delivered. Bias much? Nope. Nope. There's no bias. It's all factual. All factual. The other thing they added, I think this is when we got glamour dressers and glamour plates. So that was a pretty big deal. That was a pretty... Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Let me see something. So I brought up the patch page. You know what else they added? Submarines. Dude. Submarines breaking the fucking game came in this patch. Holy shit. Damn, this patch really is good, guys. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, that's staying at S. That's saying the highest S right now. Infinite money patch. We found it. Okay. 4.3. 4.3. So for 4.3, they added Ridorana Lighthouse, which I'm gonna say once again, it is insane because the math boss, God, what's the last boss's name? Oh my god, I cannot. It's escaping me. Ridorana Lighthouse, I felt was good. Like the first boss is good, the second boss is good, the third boss is good. Even though it's memes of math, Then the fourth boss, all of it's good. I love it all. Easy, like S tier, raid tier, or like a 24 man. The last boss is Hippocampus. Jesus, Hippocampus wasn't even out yet. Conk. Tide Pod. Oh my God, yeah, Tide Pod. Holy shit, Tide Pod. The other thing that came here was Uwu. So it was another ultimate. So that was pretty big for people that there was another ultimate that came out. I know Uwu is not as difficult as Yukob, and I know it's like considered the easiest ultimate, but I still think that was pretty damn big as far as a raid tier goes for people, even in off patch. Now, this is where Yeezamat, thank you. Yeezamat, thank you. Now, Pagos was introduced here. No, I think Tide Pod was at the same time as the Tide Pod challenge. So Pagos was brought in here. There was Heaven and High that came out in this patch too. Heaven and High is a pretty big deal. I think Heaven and High is a good thing. So there's a lot of mixed stuff here. So there's Uwu, which is good. Heaven and High is good. Ritter Lighthouse, good. Wait, why am I forgetting this? There was Tsukunomi. Tsukunomi got added here. Tsukunomi, Ritter Lighthouse, and Uwu, and even though Eureka was bad, and then there's Heaven and High. Well, Eureka was okay. Pagos is extremely mixed to bad, but like, I'm gonna give this a high A. I'm gonna give it a high A. It is an off patch, so it's not a raid tier patch. I want to almost bump it up to. Oh man, Ridorana's here though. I almost want to bump it up, but I feel like Pagos drops the shit down enough where it should be lower. Because of Pagos, I'm gonna drop it lower. The reason why I'm gonna drop it to A because of Pagos is specifically because of the fact that Pagos has such disdain with certain parts of the player base that it has made people stop doing Eureka, even though like Pagos, even though Eureka is fucking like amazing beyond that in my mind. So I will drop it to an A because of negative effects, because of Pagos, but everything else about this patch was amazing. Okay, we have patch 4.4. This is Alphascape. Chaos, Omega, and Final Omega and the Twins. Overall, pretty good. What was the second? Midgar Stormer. No, okay, wait, fuck. Dude, they were all good. They were all good in this one. Yeah, I feel like across the board, this one was pretty damn solid as far as the raid tier goes. Yeah. Chaos was an insanely... 09S, I think, is one of the best introductory fights. 09S is one of the best introductory fights. Like, for a tier. Really damn good. So, I think overall, the spread is really, really strong. I think it was really, really strong. The other thing that was added here, this is where Pyros came in, and Eureka started going back in the right direction. So that's a big win on Eureka's end. This also added Suzaku. Suzaku to me was a mixed to good fight. Some people don't like the dancing thing and the DDR thing and, you know, as Simon says and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was overall pretty good. I think it was like an interesting fight. But I think because of Eureka Pyros and the raid tier, I want to put this at a high A, like higher than 4.3. I want to put it, I do not want to bump it up to S because like, I don't think this is like game defining. The reason I put these ones up here, I think they're game defining. 3.4 PF, 4.1 Evilise and Yukob, first ultimate, and Eureka. 4.2 Sigmascape to me is the best one. Wait, sorry. No. This is sorry. 4.2 had sigmascape, fashion report, animos, submarines, and there's more. There's other stuff. Just like across the board, I feel like each of these are like game defining, or they do something exceptional. 4.2 is really good, but it's not game defining crazy. Stormblood's the best expansion unless you're MSQ Andy, basically. I would argue yes. All right, 4.5. 4.5. I'm gonna tell you guys, this one is game defining, and the reason is because of Baldessian Arsenal. The other thing that they did besides that was Orbone Monastery is the best raid or 24-man they've ever made. BA and Orbone Monastery are in this patch. By far, this is the arguably to me probably second best patch they've ever had. Now, this is a downtime, and they actually made us entertained. They actually kept us busy. We weren't sitting around in fucking Limsa with our fucking hands up our goddamn ass or other people's asses. We were actually playing the damn game. They made us want to play the game in the downtime. You know what else they added? And I know this sounds fucking stupid. They brought the Final Fantasy XV event with a car. I think that is actually huge. I thought that created so many memes. It made it entertaining for people. It was one of the best side, like, holiday, like, limited piece of content. Ralgar's parking lot, exactly. The other thing that happened with this patch, we got World Visit. So as I said, this patch is game defining and deserves to be an S. They actually kept us entertained. They wanted us to play the game. They kept us busy. They fed us good. And it is one of the best patches that has ever existed to me. 4.2, 4.5, and 4.1 are the reasons why I will sit here and always say that Stormblood is the best expansion. And nothing will change that in my mind. Shadowbringers is the best MSQ expansion, but this is the best content-rich expansion, period, to me. Okay, now we're on Shadowbringers. Oh, I didn't stream then, Akua, to be fair. I didn't stream then, to be fair. All right. This is the MSQ patch. This is the MSQ expansion. I think it goes without saying that the MSQ alone, without even considering anything else, carried the shit out of the game. And I would argue if this didn't happen, we would not have the population of the game that we do now. We would not have the probably like as like in-depth story as we do now if it wasn't for this. So when I say game defining, I feel like Shadowbringers is game defining. And that's why I have to give it an S. I can ignore almost anything else and I would still give this an S because of Shadowbringers MSQ alone. However, I do think Eden's Gate was fairly good. I think Titan Car was extremely fun. I thought that Leviathan was pretty fun. I thought Eden was a good intro boss. And I thought the... what was it? The second fight with like the shadow void person, which is Gaia. It was mixed. That's the one that's mixed. So E1S, E3S, and E4, I like those fights. They were fun. Titan overall to me was fun. As far as the extreme modes go, Titania Extreme and Innocence, I think are really good first extreme fights for an expansion. Voidwalker, thank you. I couldn't remember the name. The other things that happened here. TP was removed from the game. That was insanely big for melee and tanks and anyone who used TP. Sprint no longer was requiring TP. MP was set, defined at 1K or 10K. No longer was there like wild shit that happened when it came to piety. Piety like needing to be like required, or like for like weird shit like black mates and stuff. In my opinion, 5.0 had the absolute best balance out of any like initial expansion. I do also want to say one thing that stands out to me that is very important to me. I think Mount Gulg, in a lot of ways, is one of my favorite dungeons that was ever added to the game. And it's not from just an aesthetic standpoint. It is the pulls. And I hate to bring up the Healer Strike, but if we had more Mount Gulgs, people would not be upset doing dungeons on Healer. People would not be upset that like tanks have healing. Because Mount Gulg to me is intensive in the pulls, and it keeps you entertained because you can do these massive, ridiculous pulls. And I thought I know that sounds stupid to talk about a dungeon, but I just felt like there are so many like positive things here in 5.0 that I cannot like undersell this. It is game defining, and I honestly say it's the best or like an expansion release. And I want to put that at the top because of that. I think there's too many positives. 4.2 has an insane amount of positives for me, but it's not like, I think as far as the game goes, the game health, it stands out beyond like, it's across the board good. Like this is the most positive A pluses to S ranks, like the most like highest rated things across the board that you can hit in my mind. So that's how I look at it. I just think it did so many good things for the game. Okay. 5.1. So this is when Nier came out for the first time, and everyone got asses. So considering the fact that everyone got asses, that dramatically made a standpoint on the game where it dramatically changed the glamour of every single person that has ever played this game. It clearly stands out as an exceptional piece of content that was ever added because everyone got an ass, even males. So do I need to say more? I don't even need to talk about the fact that T, the greatest ultimate that has ever been made in my mind, got added to the game. But that's part of it too. There's also the fact that in 5.1, Hades Extreme came out. I personally think Hades is one of the best extremes. It goes on one of my S rank extreme like lists, alongside like Thornton and like Seed of Sacrifice. I think Hades was ridiculously good. We also got Ishgard Restoration started. I don't remember if this is like the starting where they did the ranking, but to me, Ishgard Restoration getting started is a big deal because it is communal activities where people are working together to build stuff and kind of like on the scale of like a communal level, like objective to like work together. I think that's insanely important. I think 5.1 is also game defining in a lot of ways. And the reason I want to be very clear in this is because of all that stuff I just listed. T, Hades. I'm not joking about the ass. I'm not kidding. Like you might think I'm memeing, but I'm not. Copied Factory wasn't the greatest raid ever created. but it added 2B's ass onto everyone. So you think I'm memeing, but I'm not. I'm serious. I'm not gonna put it up like, I'm not gonna put it up better than that because of Party Finder and all this other stuff, but I think it's pretty damn high. Yeah, the Diadem and Firmament rework were huge. Bad Alliance Raid masterpiece of glamour. Either way, T is a big factor. To me, T is the standout ultimate out of any of the ultimates to me. DSR is like, I haven't done DSR and maybe I would feel differently. I'm sure people that do ultimates feel differently and would put DSR higher. But for me, out of the ultimates that I have done, T stands out more than anything else. Out of any fight I've ever done in the game, it is one of my favorite things to, like, fights to do, even though it stressed me the hell out and I never will touch it again. It was one of my favorite things. 5.2. 5.2 introduced the weapons questline. It introduced the first set of Boja, not the instance. So gave us a second extreme mode versus Varus, where you'd fight Varus Extreme. So that was interesting. Varus Extreme's okay. But I felt like Ruby Weapon Extreme was kind of cool. I thought it was, I liked the two phases to it. I like Slime Darkness. I like the first phase of it too. Some people might not like it, but I liked Ruby Weapon. Eden's verse though, the music was ridiculous in E8S. It gave us Light's Rampart though, and it gave us a lot of memes. I think E8S is really good, but I think it's very difficult for PF. Ramu was okay for E5S. Ifrit and Garuda, I don't remember what their name is when they're combined. They were okay. I did not like the bird boss. So E8S is probably the standout out of this patch when it came to the raid tier goes. So Ruby Weapon was pretty decent. And like I said, there was another extreme mode to like replace for like the start of the Boja stuff. Ishgard Restoration, I think here actually started functioning with like the ranking, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it did. So I'd probably give this patch probably like an... I want to put it right in the middle of A. I think there's some negative stuff about it, but it wasn't like something that's like stand out. But I do think E8S was really good. I like that we had two extremes. I liked the fact that like Ruby Weapon's pretty good, and I didn't think Varus was that bad. Varus was that bad. Oh wait, you know what also got added? I think it was ocean fishing. Because I remember doing that with my static during E8S. No, I said Varus, not Xeris. Considering Ishgard Restoration ranking and then also ocean fishing and all the other stuff, I'm going to put it right in the middle of A. I thought there was a lot of content to do. However, this comes the point in time. No, we did not get Castrum, Lacus Latori. That's not yet. So you're thinking of Boja releasing Boja on Southern Front. It was not released yet, Makoto. That comes in the next patch. 5.2, we only got the start, which is just the instance with Varus and like the storyline to start Boja. We did not actually get the Southern Front. Yeah, it was just Gangos and the instance. And the start of the relics. I think ocean fishing was huge, though. I think so many people enjoy ocean fishing. All right. 5.3. Holy shit, this is a god tier patch. The music is insane. Seed of Sacrifice is the greatest extreme mode they have ever made, in my mind. Boja is released. Ishgard Restoration continues. We get Unreal for the very first time. I'm gonna be honest, even including Nier, because I think this was one of the better Niers. Puppet's Bunker was one of the better Niers. Seed of Sacrifice, to me, is the greatest out of any of the extremes that I have to rank this highly. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna put it above the first Evilist tier. I think this is an S rank patch because of Boja, because of Puppet's Bunker, because of Seed of Sacrifice, because they kept adding on to Ishgard Restoration. They brought us Lacus Latori for Castrum. This had the duels for Boja. This had Unreal. There was just so much good shit here. I think this is a great patch. Fucking amazing. So much to fucking do. It was great to have during COVID. Really amazing job. So very good job, Essie, on that one. I'm gonna tell you guys, I think Eden's Promise is the best raid tier from Eden. I think P9 through 12 was really good. I thought all of it was really good. I think Dad Crid, Shadow Dog, Cloud of Darkness, and obviously like with Eden's Promise and Gaia, that's good. I think they're all fucking solid. No, not Danjit. No. It's Dad Cred. It's Dad Cred for me. I think it's the best raid tier out of Eden. I know I'm not saying it's like something like that stands out was like crazy, like amazing, like the greatest like raid tier ever made, but I think it was really damn good. I think it was better than E5 through 8 personally. The other thing that came with this is Emerald Weapon. I thought Emerald Weapon was better than Ruby Weapon personally. I liked it a lot. There was also, this was when we got DSR. DSR is, or sorry, DRS. Sorry, DRS. So we got Delirium Regine. I think even the normal mode was fun. I think the Savage mode was fun. I just, in general, feel that this was an amazing, like wealth of content of extra shit to do, even on the side while raiding. I really do. I had a lot of fun in this patch, outside of the fact of when I got sick during raiding. Everything else was great about it. I really like doing the extreme and DRS and everything and DR. Like I had insane amount of fun doing this. This is probably like, there's also some bias to this, probably as far as like a patch goes, because this is when I got partnered on Twitch. This is when my stream started like getting like pretty big. From where it was previously, and I thought that was a pretty big deal for me, and I'm probably a bit biased besides anything else, so I kind of ranked this a little highly myself, just because this was probably like the most fun on stream. I don't know if it's the most fun on stream I had, but I had like a lot of good memories during this time. There's some like mixed memories too, but either way, like I felt like I had good memories during this time, so it's probably like bleeding it a little mixed in. a bit. I'm not going to put this as like a substantially like amazing patch where it's like standout. I'd probably put it just like better than 5.2. I think it's just like right next to 5.2. I'm gonna adjust something. I want to put those before 2.2. I think they're better than 2.2. I think so. I argue this is probably like where they are. I think it's probably accurate. Okay, 5.5. I want to be clear on this. I'm gonna rate this higher than probably other people probably rate this under one reason, and it's because Zadnor and I still had fun doing Cloud Deck or Diamond Weapon. They also continued adding more to Ishgard Restoration. There's also, I felt like Paradigm's Breach was pretty decent. It was better than Copied Factory. It wasn't better than Puppet's Bunker to me, but it was pretty decent. I think the problem a lot of times people have with the 5.5 is because it dragged out so long because of the delays that happened for Endwalker. I think one of the really things that like made this patch though stand out is because this is when the WoW exodus happened. Also, by the way, Mel, I'm sorry that I didn't say hi earlier. I saw what you said about Lost Ark. Welcome back. I'm happy you're here. But I think I have a lot of bias for 5.4 and 5.5 because this is when I streamed a crazy amount. This is when shit blew the hell up on Twitch. When like we had like tons of streamers coming over that were from WoW. We had a lot of like community side things, not necessarily the patch going on. We had just a lot of stuff that was like kind of like almost like masking the delay. I will later, Super. There was a lot of stuff like masking the delay. And that's why, to me, it like... it didn't bother me so much probably as other people when it comes to 5.5. I don't want to put this as like some insane patch, but I still think giving Zadnor and Deliria and all the extra stuff that was going on, all the like... there was also... isn't this when... no, this isn't when the... this isn't when you could data center travel. No. Not yet. There's a lot of probably bias in this one, but I'm going to rank it a little higher than probably most people expect. I am putting this at a high B. I think it's weaker than some of the other Shadowbringers patches, but I still rank it decently high. And that's why I'm giving it high B. DC travel was Endwalker. Okay. I think there's a lot of external factors that probably is making this better and didn't feel like it dragged out for sure. So I want to be clear on that. We have finally reached Endwalker, guys. We're finally here. I'm going to have a lot of mixed opinions between all of Endwalker, probably for a lot of people. I think the introduction of Endwalker at the start was good initially, nothing world breaking. It resolved the story. I am going to put it at low A for the start. That does not mean it's going to stay that way. So as far as the MSQ goes, it resolves everything when it came to Shadowbringers. And I felt the story was good. I did not think the story was bad. I felt the raid tier was decent. P3S was garbage because of how bad it looked. I hated the fight itself. So P3S was garbage. The rest of the raid tier was fine. They added housing in Ishgard. I like both Sage and Reaper. That was added here too. So that's why I'm ranking it higher. I'm trying to think of what else they did. I think that's it. Well, Male Vieira, I guess. Male Vieira. Which patch introduced the lottery? I think it was this one. Was it right when Ishgard Restoration? Data center travel wasn't added right away, I don't think, Varsity. So I want to be clear. that like this is not going to stay consistent. But I do think Endwalker itself, the initial start was good. Just the initial start. That's it. 6.1. I think Agalia was the best out of all of the raid 24 mans, okay? Agalia was the best one. Crystalline Conflict was introduced. I think Crystalline Conflict was good. I think it's a very good system. I think it's better than Feast. Yes, adventure plates were added. That's a big plus. But there's issues with it too. They also added, I think at this time, they added the PvP raid, the series thing. The problem with 6.1 though, Endsinger Extreme was garbage. Endsinger Extreme is one of the worst extreme modes they have ever added in my mind. I hate it. I hate that it's a MSQ one. I feel like they half-assed it. It was just bad. I think they should redo it, or they should like it's so bad I would tell them to redo it if I was in charge. I'm not kidding. Now they also added Dragon Song Ultimate. I didn't do it, but I do think that is one of the most well presented and entertaining to watch ultimates. And I think a lot of people who do like ultimate rating like it. I'm gonna put this patch at a same spot as the other Endwalker patch or expansion, low A, because I think Endsinger being bad and garbage in my mind when it came to an extreme mode is that bad, and it drags it down that far. I just didn't like it. I thought it was bad. I didn't care that much for the MSQ at this time either. The side content, it felt boring to me. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I missed. This is when the lottery was added. Guys, this is when data center travel was added too. Usually when I have something that's like system impactful, I would rate it higher, but I still think that like, I think there's a lot of mixed negatives in here that I have a really hard time like putting it much higher. When did they add Island Sanctuary? Was it in this patch? 6.2. Okay. 6.2. So, I want to say this. I think 6.2 had the best raid tier out of all of Endwalker. And I know there were issues with the HP thresholds and the jobs not being balanced like with the tanks. But I think from a fight design standpoint, I like the ones the most. I thought Carby was really fun. I really liked P8S after I started doing it. P7 and P6 were the ones that were weaker. P7 was annoying, but P6 was like... P7 was not as annoying as P3. I want to be clear. But P6 was like boring for like the status debuffs and stuff. I wasn't a big fan. The biggest problem with 6.2 is Island Sanctuary. I looked forward to Island Sanctuary so much that like I was extremely disappointed. Coachella, dude, I hated Coachella. I hated Coachella in P6, that's why. The other thing that got added here, I personally believe variant dungeons are a waste of time currently in their current iteration. Now, I'm not saying in Dawn Trail that they won't fix them, but I don't like Criterion. I do not like variant dungeons at all in their current form. They also introduced the shitty ass relics that are in the game. So here's the negatives, just to be clear. Even though the raid tier, I liked it. Island Sanctuary, relics, Criterion variant, Barbarica came out also during this time, and I thought Barbarica was pretty good. So this is a very mixed situation where, like, I feel like the hardcore content of 6.2, or like the more like engaging content when it comes to like combat, was good or above average. But you have all the side content that's like kind of like casual, and I feel like it's garbage. It's very like I don't like the reward system. I think if the reward system's crap in Variant and Criterion, it makes the content crap. Because you have to have a motivating factor for someone to do it in the first place. And if that's not strong enough, then I don't see the point in adding it in the first place. That's the reason why I don't like either of those two. You're still convinced that the shiny tomestones were the original relics? Oh god, maybe. Either way, like, I see variant dungeons and Criterion dungeons as a massive negative until they fix them. Because I feel like they're just eating dev resources for something that's like, it seems like there's a lot of effort put into them. And I feel like if they don't adequately reward them, they shouldn't do them. Either way, like, the Manderville weapons, I don't like the relics costing tomestones. Island Sanctuary. So although there was like good content here, I want to put it in a C. I feel like there's like such a conflict between good and bad here. And it strikes me like it splits me really hard on like wanting to give it actually a good one. I want to almost put this in D. And it's Savage and Barbarica that's like holding it up. Isn't what C's a mixed bag? Yeah, that's true. That is true. Which looks the most fun in Dawn Trail? Probably Gunbreaker or Warrior to me, Mel. Paladin, maybe if you like Paladin, but I just don't like the aesthetic. Dark Knight, I didn't feel like they added anything. But Warrior is Warrior, and Warrior's just getting more Warrior things to do. And Gunbreaker is getting like new like style, like I like the Lionheart looking ability. It like looks fun to use. But like they're basically the tanks that I think are fun to play are still staying fun to play, is really what it comes down to. Okay. 6.3. So I am going to have a probably very mixed bag with this one too. And I want to preface this with saying, I personally think top, based on what my friends have voiced to me and what I've heard from people, I don't think top is healthy for the raid scene in the level of difficulty, specifically because of phase, I think it's 5. I did not do top. So I'm probably not the best judgment to say this, but it is a perception of talking to people. Iosuke, thank you for the raid. I hope you had a good stream. Thank you, thank you. Dynamis phase? Yeah, the Dynamis phase. So, like, the Delta, Sigma, and Alpha, I think it is. Like, the 3, like, trio phases. I don't have personal first-hand ability to say it other than I'm giving second-hand information and what I've spoken to people about. And my impression from watching streamers do it and looking about like my previous raid experience, I don't think top's healthy. That's all. That's mostly why I feel this way. When it comes to the extremes, I thought Rubicante was mediocre. They added Eureka Orthos, which I think is like good, but I don't know if it's as good as Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High. I think it was still good. I just don't know if it was as good. Oh, hi, Ioski. Sky. I was like 5.3 is definitely S tier Kappa. Oh, the reason 5.3 is S tier for me is because of Seed of Sacrifice. I think is one of the best extremes that they've ever made, and music. They also did a bunch of stuff with Boja. They did there's some other stuff. I had to have to go like back in the VOD and like remember what I said, because I was like kind of like going through it. But at least Seed of Sacrifice was it was by far the best extreme trial they've ever made in my mind. I don't know if they'll ever top it. Okay, back to what I was saying though. Eureka Orthos, it's okay to good compared to the other deep dungeons. I don't know if top's healthy as far as an ultimate goes, but it's really hard to say from secondhand information. Rubicante, I think, was very mediocre. It sucks because I love Rubicante's music. So that's unfortunate. It continued. Endwalker continued doing the same relic steps that were in the previous ones. I don't know. I struggle to give this like anything other than it's in mediocre, and I feel like this is still going in the negative direction. Euphrosyne is arguably maybe just as good as Agalia, but I don't think it's anything spectacular outside of the fact that you have the music at the end in the last fight that's good. So 6.4. I think Voidcast Diaz Extreme is the best extreme of Endwalker. I want to preface this by saying Endwalker. They continued updating Island Sanctuary, garbage. They added another Criterion variant. They kept going with the same reward system, so I'm sorry. Even if the content itself is good, I feel the reward system is garbage, so it makes the whole thing garbage. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how to put it any other way. Like, I hate... If the reward system is never good, there is no point in doing it, and that makes it important, like, irrelevant to me to do it in the first place. When it came to the raid, P9S, I think, is decent. P10S, I think, is good. There's only one part about P9S or P10S that I don't like, and that's the laser cannons. I don't like having to do this bullshit, like, where I have to, like, aim the laser. I hate that. I think it's stupid. I hate how finicky it is. I think it's badly, like, made. But I think everything else about P10S is good. P11S is basically E11S, but easier and boring. I feel like it is like, if you see a E11S, you might as well like, or sorry, if you see P12S, you might as well like, why don't I just go back to doing E11S, because E11S is better. So to me, I feel like P11S is not great. Phase 1 of P12S is amazing. I love phase 1 of P12S. However, phase 2 of P12S is garbage to me because of caloric, and it will never change my mind. I hate caloric. I think they should never do caloric ever again. If they ever make anything like caloric again, I will pull my fucking hair out. I hate it. It is the worst, in my opinion, like, mechanic they've ever conceived. It is not because I can't do it, and people can see on stream that whenever I've done it, I don't really have a problem with caloric. It's the fact that in Party Finder, people are just incapable of doing it. And I personally think that it's so unforgiving with the amount of body checks in that damn fight. I think it fucking sucks. Phase 2 body checks, garbage. I'm sorry, I hate phase 2. I'm really strongly like hate it. PF taints opinions. It does, but I feel Savage is designed for PF. Ultimate is designed for statics. I mean, I know PF. I understand that like people do statics for. I understand people do statics for Savage, especially for doing it like week 1 and stuff like that, or like really quickly, and just in like, maybe even just in general. But like I look at like when I think of PF, I think it should be designed in a way that is capable to be done by PF in a semi-consistent way that is recoverable. Now, that does not mean you can beat the fight because you could recover, but it doesn't feel like fucking hopeless in the way that like if you fail one single small thing in leading up to caloric, that all of a sudden caloric is destructive. If you fuck up even like to get people up for like classical 2, for example, or something, and then it becomes immediately a failure. If you need to raise people from classical 2, you immediately fail caloric 2. Like, this is what I'm getting at. It's just like, it's like a never ending like thing of like body checks. I don't like that. I don't like that it's irrecoverable. Like, there's no way to recover that. So for me, like, I don't like the design. I'd rather it have like semi ways of recovering, but maybe the punishing factor is the DPS checks harder. I don't know what other like solution in my mind. Like, they need to like, I just don't feel like they should have as many body checks as they do in a Savage fight. If they want to do that in Ultimate, like, I don't give a shit. Go fucking nutso, buddy. That's what it's there for. Anyhow, I think Anna Bezos is middle of the road. It is probably better than P1 through 4, but I still think P5 through 8 is way better than Anna Bezos. I think P5 through 8, Abyssos, is the best raid tier out of this expansion. Man, so considering Voidcast Dice is the best extreme, we have Variant and Criterion still, which is a negative to me. We're continuing the Manderville weapons. I kind of just want to put it next to 6.2 because I still feel like there's negatives. I think there's too many negatives still, like, because of like Island Sanctuary and all the other stuff. Okay, 6.5. The 24-man is garbage. Zeromus is garbage. I hate Criterion and Variant because there's no good rewards. The only thing that is good is Singularity, Racked, or Unreal. I did not like the Relic Step. Island Sanctuary got updated. It is the worst patch, in my opinion, that we have ever had. It is literally the reason I took a break. I hate ending on a sour note, but that's how I feel. And I feel like we had so many good things off the beginning up here, but it kind of just went downhill. It can only go up. I actually think this. So I want to talk about say after it's all said and done. That's why I didn't want to do everything in the order of like the most recent to the farthest time ago. I wanted to start with ARR because personally to me, I knew it was going to end on a sour note. There was nothing that was going to change that. However, I do think Dawn Trail, with everything that they have stated, I think it will match Stormblood if they don't screw up the actual content implementation of raids, of ultimates, of whatever the field content is, and they don't make boring extremes. I don't need them to make an amazing MSQ, but if they can at least do what they did with Stormblood and spark some magic again of keeping people busy, it's only uphill from now. And I think everything they have illuminated gives me that indication. So, for me, I am at least looking at everything in a positive direction, regardless of the fact of I did not like 6.5. But Endwalker to me is, I know in a lot of ways it's harsh to say this, I think perspectively versus everything else that existed and the times that things released, I just personally think that it is the lowest point besides the MSQ of 6.0, and that's it. It had the most, like, I would say mediocre to bad patches. And that's even considering the fact that, like, COVID happened during Shadowbringers, right? So I hate reiterating that and saying it's bad, but like I want to look at the positives. Like, there's so many things that were good about the game in previous expansions, and they did such a good job, in my opinion. A lot of time, obviously there's some negative points in Heavensward, but I feel like prospectively it is overwhelmingly positive most of the time for the patches outside of Endwalker. So when they illuminate what they have in Dawn Trail on like their keynotes, on what Yoshida talks about, the only thing I've seen people be really super negative about is the job like design not changing that much, but the actual content itself seems like it's stuff that's going to entertain us. So I look forward to seeing Dawn Trail as far as like what happens in the patches, what happens in the expansion itself, and what we get in the raid tier and all that kind of stuff to keep us busy. But hopefully it is actually only uphill from here.